The Chase Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Shots. We're going to switch things up and drop it down low to Matt. Matt, what's going on with you?
What's up, fellas? It's my favorite show of the week. I'm back. I'm ready. Brady beat you to the chase this week. The Buckeyes had a big win on Saturday night. We got just one more game to the big one, but beat Minnesota. Here we go.
There you go. Rode a boat. Brady, what's going on?
Not much. I mean, Matt really said everything I needed to say. I think it's also my favorite show of the week. I had Matt in this very room. He was here on Saturday night, sleeping on the floor after the Ohio State game versus Michigan State. He was snoring a little bit, but it is what it is. Good game for sure, and I'm ready to talk about this week.
All right. After a big Ohio State victory on Saturday, we got another big one coming up against Minnesota. Now, before you guys go in more in this video, just like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to do our thing over here. A lot of different things coming your way. The rankings will release what I believe during between the Michigan State Duke and the Kentucky versus Kansas game. I believe they're going to release. That's normally what they do when the Champions Classic is on. I can't believe it's already mid-November. Pretty wild to say. I mean, we're not too far from Thanksgiving, less than 10 days away, which means we're 11 days away from the big game between Ohio State and Michigan, that team up north that we'll keep calling them next week instead of their actual state name. Speaking of which, they play Maryland on Saturday at Fox, at College Park. Noon game. Michigan's there by 19. This was a matchup before that we could have considered, this is a big one for Michigan. And it still might be, but this is also their last game before they play us. We're just looking at it. Talia Tagovailoa, 2,700 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Hasn't had a bad season this year, but, Maryland's just outmatched in this one, would you say?
Absolutely. I thought early in the year they were playing pretty well. Maryland was. I think they got off to a 5-0 start, actually. So it was kind of early in the year and before the season started, you looked at it and said, man, this could be a trap game right here, week before they have us come to the big house. But I would be shocked if Maryland, is able to keep this one close at all and make it any kind of a game, just because when you watch, Penn State's just absolutely throttled them. Now I know the transitive property, it's a thing just because this team beat this team by this much, it's not always a thing, but I will say I think the physical nature of the defensive lines for Penn State and Michigan, they're both just going to dominate Maryland up front, just the way Penn State did. So I'd be shocked if Maryland was able to keep this one close.
Brady, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Maryland was able to give Ohio State a little bit of a scare early in the game due to some, the field position thing where we faked that stupid punt. They got on the board. But then, Penn State was able to do what they were able to do, and Maryland has fell off a cliff since that Ohio State game. Early in the year, they blew out 2 Power 5 teams and were undefeated going into the Ohio State game. They blew out Indiana, and they blew out Virginia, who almost just beat Louisville. Not that Virginia's good, but Maryland was looking solid, and I agree with Matt. I thought this would be a good matchup, but at this point, it looks like Michigan is just the overwhelmingly more physical and better team. Last week, people like Michigan got more credit for their win over Penn State than we did when we had the more dominant win. Now, I know we technically won by one less point, but we also gave up a garbage time touchdown where we were just playing soft coverage and, didn't capitalize when we were in the red zone. At the 1 yard line and all that. Like, we were the more dominant team, and like the EPA and all that stupid stuff shows that. So I just feel like Michigan's going to come off that game ready to keep running the ball. And I don't see Maryland stopping the run.
Well, I'm going to say Michigan's getting more credit for their win over Penn State because of the circumstances that they put themselves into, with them not having Jim Harbaugh. And obviously we know the whole cheating scandal and everything. But again, in my opinion, I mean, not having your head coach there plays some effect. It plays an effect. It does. Like, I know he's not an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, but he's still the leader of men. And obviously, I'm not defending Jim Harbaugh at any sort. Okay, not one bit. I'm talking about America's team. What a jackass in that.
Desmond Howard's a joke, by the way. Everyone needs
we can, and yes, and they get more credit for it because, again, they also went on the road and did it as well. And you can't control. I mean, Ohio State, it's back and forth every year. They play a home game, road game on that type of basis. But, who cares? Because obviously we know this. Once they step out in the white lines against each other, it's what happens against Ohio State and Michigan. We'll talk a ton about that game next week, hopefully between 2-11-0 teams in that regard. Moving down the pine, noon game on ABC, the Louisville Cardinals have arrived. They're taking on Miami, who's 6-4. Louisville's only favored by 1 point at the moment. This year, they're led by their quarterback, Jack Plummer, who was 2,400 yards passing, 16 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And then Jawar Jordan, 141 for 976 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. Don't really know a whole lot about this Cardinals team because not a lot of people have probably watched them. And Jamari Thrash, 49 for 734 through the air and 6 touchdowns. We saw them beat Notre Dame this season. They have won the games they needed formidably. They shut out Duke in their home matchup. I know there's a couple injuries that they were, having to go through with that. But, I mean, Louisville, for the most part, other than their loss to Pittsburgh, has been really good this year. What stands out to you guys about the Cardinals?
Their running back.
Yeah.
He's really good.
The way they're able to run the ball up front, I mean, that's by far the thing that stood out to me so far. And I don't know a ton about them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But the reason I think that line's so close this week is Miami's got a fairly talented roster. Let's be real about it. It's probably a top 10 to 15 roster in college football. So talent-wise, it's not even close. Miami has much more talent. But we'll see. I mean, that's why that line's so close for sure.
Yeah,
you saw Miami last week give Florida State everything they can handle. So we'll see.
Indeed. It's going to be big going forward. Looking at the ACC race, you got Florida State, who's undefeated. Me and Brady talked about this yesterday on the show, talking about the hypothetical scenario where you could literally have technically 8 teams playing for 4 spots the final weekend of the season, being a conference championship weekend. There's a chance. I mean, Louisville, they go in and beat Miami in this game. Then you've got, a game against Kentucky at home, and then you go to the ACC championship against Florida State most likely. And it sets up a lot of controversy if Louisville's a 1-loss champion. And obviously, we could talk about that if it happens or maybe even when it happens. But, nonetheless, you got to keep your eyes on Louisville. They're number 11 in the AP poll, but we're obviously going to, wait till the actual rankings drop, which will be really about 9 o'clock. Looking at other games on the slate, Georgia, Tennessee. Now, let me just say this. We all agree that Michigan's going to end up beating Maryland. All right, that's the move right there. Does Louisville continue their success this week against Miami?
Yeah, I think so. I think they get the win.
No, I don't think they do. I think they'll lose to Miami.
Oh, all right. I'm going to ride with the Cardinals train on that one. We'll move down Mid-South, Georgia, Tennessee. Tennessee, 7-3. Georgia's undefeated. Georgia's favored by 10. Carson Beck, 3,000 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions this year. It was the question of what he would be doing at quarterback, especially after Stetson Bennett had won back-to-back national champions, as the quarterback for the Bulldogs. But Carson Beck has stepped in and played pretty good this year, to say the least. They're going to go into to Neyland Stadium, take on Joe Milton, 16 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Tennessee's running back Jalen Wright had a pretty good season overall, averaged about 7 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns only on the ground. But Tennessee got absolutely waxed against Missouri. They got destroyed at Missouri. So, I mean, it's pretty wild to think. But, thoughts going into this one about Georgia?
They're obviously catching fire at the right moment. This is a Matt's pick. So get ready here, folks. We went 2-1 last week. So we are now 18-13-2 on the year. So we are turning and burning. But I like Georgia in this game by a lot of points. I know they're on the road. I know they're in Neyland, but I just like Georgia minus 10 in this game. Georgia minus 10 in this game. Would shock me if they don't cover the spread.
Heard it from Matt first. Brady, your thoughts on this one?
I think that it should be. I don't think Tennessee's a good team, to be honest with you. We've seen them get pounced on by Florida and Missouri. Those are not. Missouri's decent. Florida is terrible. Those are not teams you want to get destroyed by. And Joe Milton is just not good. He's never going to be a guy that's going to step up on a big stage and win a big game and play well. He's just not accurate. He is not smart on where he's throwing the ball, and he just isn't a good quarterback. And against the Georgia defense, there's no way he's going to be able to shred them apart, in my opinion. So I think Georgia, with Carson Beck against those DBs, I think Carson Beck is a good player. He actually reminds me a lot of Stetson Bennett, the way he plays. He's a good quarterback. I think he's done a good job replacing Bennett, and I think that Georgia has a huge advantage.
Yep. I agree. I think we're all going with Georgia in this one. Move down to our game, Ohio State taking on Minnesota. The Golden Gophers coming to town in Columbus. Ohio State's favored by 27.5. The game's at 4:00 on Big Ten Network. I think the main thing at the moment is we've seen a lot of good from Ohio State this season. It's just stay the course. Don't overlook to next week. What is something that you're looking forward to in this game specifically, Brady?
What I'm looking for in this game specifically is how is that third safety going to play, whoever it may be. So obviously, Josh Proctor, Sonny Styles will be locks, assuming Josh Proctor is back to be starting safeties on this team moving forward now that Lathan Ransom's out for the season, which is disappointing. I'm looking for whoever it may be, whether that be Malik Hartford, the freshman, whether that be Jordan Hancock just permanently playing nickel and Sonny having to move to Lathan's position. No matter what it may be, I'm ready to see that person step up, especially in the run game. The run game, Lathan is amazing. He fills gaps. He causes a lot of tackles for loss in big situations. We're going to need those against Michigan in 2 weeks, even though this week obviously beat Minnesota, but we're going to do that. We got to get healthy. We got to stay healthy before Michigan. And I am hoping that we can go into Michigan after this week, the main thing, and have our only two main players out be Lathan Ransom and Mayan Williams. Everyone else, I want to be healthy.
Indeed. I mean, availability is the best ability. Matt, what is something that you're specifically looking forward to?
Number one thing, we just got to be healthy. So that's number one.
Yeah.
So, but number two, I want to see if Kyle can maintain that kind of rhythm he had played with last week. I mean, it's the best game he's played. It's a Buckeye, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's crucial that he plays well, obviously, in Ann Arbor. So if he could continue to build on that game last week, continue to get better down the stretch run here in November, I think it pays dividends, obviously. So continue to protect him, and he has to protect the fucking ball. If he takes care of the ball, we have a chance to win the national championship. If he doesn't, we're fucked. So there you go.
Simple as that. The wise words of Matt Ricketts. A game obviously, can't overlook. Minnesota's 5-5 and everything, but still, stay the course, get through this one, and then we have a big week coming up the week of Thanksgiving. And we will also have a show for you guys that we'll try to get scheduled accordingly, and maybe get the three of us in person for one, and try something out new and different. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Some of the later games that are going on, there's a lot of teams that just decided to take steps back this week before they prepare for their rival games, like Florida State's playing North Alabama at 6:30 on the CW network. So that's just, that's pretty much. Then Oregon plays against Arizona State on Fox. It's, Arizona State's not good. They're having a lot of stuff going on with their athletic program, moving ADs and everything, which doesn't have anything to do with on the field stuff, but that just stuff in general. Just a lot of teams are playing against some weak teams. Alabama's playing Chattanooga this week. Just stuff that we don't really need to touch on going forward. But two big ones I want to look at. First, I want to look at the Washington-Oregon State game, because that game is a 7:30 ABC matchup that features Michael Penix Jr. versus DJ Uiagalelei. Uiagalelei, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 2,200 yards passing. He's played really, really good this year. Their running back, Damian Martinez, 1,024 yards on only 155 carries, 7 touchdowns. He's been fantastic this season. And then you look on the other side for Washington, Michael Penix Jr. at the moment, one of the top or front runners of the Heisman Trophy, 3,500 yards passing, 28 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And then you look at their receiver, Rome Odunze. He's been balling, 59 for 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns, averaging 18.6 yards a catch, up for the Biletnikoff Award. So this game has a lot of offensive chess pieces going into this. And the Pac-12 doesn't play defense. They're big on it's like the Big 12. It just seems like the conferences with the 12s just decide not to play defense. But who is a player to watch out for in this one? Who is the player that's under the most pressure in this game, Brady?
I would say the player under the most pressure in this game is definitely Michael Penix, because he's to the point where he's been the Heisman, leader all season, I would say. But at this point, I would say he's maybe in third in terms of the general consensus. I think Jaden Daniels, although has 3 losses, have gained a lot of people's vote at this point. And I think Marvin, with his performances and the stage he has left to play on. So Mike Penix needs to light up this good Oregon State defense if he wants to stay in that conversation. And obviously, to win the game, Michael Penix has to be perfect a lot of the time, because Washington's defense isn't perfect by any means. So, but that being said, I think Michael Penix is a great quarterback. I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't take him in a heartbeat to switch jerseys and wear the scarlet and gray. But
being real,
just to be real. But imagine what Mara's numbers would be with Mike Penix. Geez, but I think Mike Penix has to have a huge game. I believe they're underdogs still. Is that true, Matt? Are they still underdogs?
That is true.
They're underdogs against Washington. Against
Oregon State is favored at home.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree with you, Brady. I think it's got to be Penix.
Mike P.
They control their own destiny here. We'll see what goes on, but this is crazy. I was shocked when I saw that Oregon State was favored.
Me too.
Are you touching this game, Matt, or no?
I haven't decided yet. It's not a max pick. So
who would you bet if you bet it? Would you say
probably Washington?
I don't know, because I know they based off what I know about betting, that means that they want you to bet Washington, meaning Vegas thinks that Oregon State has a huge advantage. Like, I think Vegas thinks that Oregon State is going to win this game, like, handily. Like, I think they're very confident in it. So that's why I'm a little, obviously I would have said Washington, but
dude, it's absolutely crazy how much of an impact that it seems like Vegas has on some games. It's honestly crazy. And to be real, I you know what? I told Matt not to curse and say some stuff on the show, particularly before we got on, but none of those words was the F word. I fucking hate it about Vegas and shit. Basically, it seems like having impact on these games. It's actually insane to just look at. But again, they're making money. I mean,
Yeah.
they're making money. So,
Yep.
Can't knock it till you try it, but I'm not going to try it. But still, I mean, this is a really good game. It's a really odd one to pick, with Oregon State being 2.5-point favorites and Washington being the undefeated team coming into their house, and how well Michael Penix has played this entire season. So this is going to be a fantastic football game to watch, a fantastic matchup, if you will. 7:30 on ABC, presumably so that, I have to look at the announcer lineups real quick, but I would assume that Herbstreit and, Fowler and Herbstreit are going to be calling this game, and I confirmed it. They will be calling this game. So it's a big time matchup in November. So that's all I can ask for. And then the other team I want to take a look at under a microscope, who's on the road and who is in contention for a playoff spot, is Texas. We mentioned this last week. We were talking about trap games potentially down the stretch that we could look at for these the 1 loss and 0 loss teams. I said last week that Texas against Iowa State stands out to me, in my opinion. And, again, I saw this Iowa State team play in person. Rocco Beck, the freshman quarterback, 2,100 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. They have a plethora of running backs that, they don't have anyone that just takes an over-abusing workload. They can rotate guys in and out. The receiver, Jaden Higgins, is a big-time deep threat. 17 yards a catch, has 4 touchdowns this season. He's been really big for them. Obviously, Texas has their guy in Xavier Worthy, who's 757 yards, 4 touchdowns. Brady's really good friend. Then running the football, Jonathan Brooks, 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground. But it's just, I think, and then, Malik Murphy still playing. Like, I haven't checked a lot about Texas in the last couple of weeks, but from what I've been seeing, it's just Malik Murphy's been playing.
I thought Quinn Ewers was starting this.
So is Quinn Ewers coming back?
I think he's starting tonight. Yeah.
Okay. So Quinn Ewers is back.
I thought Quinn Ewers played against TCU too.
He 100% played last week.
He gave TCU. Okay, because I didn't give a shit watching that game. I didn't even watch that game. So, oh yeah, that's right. I fell asleep during the Ohio State game on Saturday.
Wow.
It was at halftime. It was 35-3, and I fell asleep. But
that's ridiculous.
Nonetheless,
you're not a true fan.
Yeah, you can say what you want about that.
Yeah, but I think. Wait, what's did you ask me a question? Or
I did not. I was just talking, but I mean, all I was saying was, I remember we were talking about this last week of Texas and Iowa State. Just watch out for it. Maybe.
Oh, that's right. Nah,
it's a road game. It's a road game.
Texas is going to cover. I think Iowa State sucks, but I could see why you say that.
I mean, Texas by 7.5.
Yeah, I like Texas.
All I'm saying is just keep an eye on it. I'm not saying Texas is going to lose. Just keep an eye on it, all right? Because it's actually crazy that Iowa State was literally down the stretch, like, for a minute, that they were going to be playing for a Big 12 championship game. And I'm like, that's actually hilarious. That was the same team I watched play, and it's like, ooh, we'll see. But they play a lot of cloud coverage, a lot of cover 3. They drop quarters, they drop thirds. It's a lot of interesting stuff that they do. I don't know if they got anybody that can guard Xavier Worthy or anything. So, but just keep an eye on that. Rankings come out in a little bit. Does Georgia take the top spot from Ohio State because they played a so-called top 10 team in Ole Miss? Do they take the top spot, Brady?
I think they're going to be tonight. I think we'll be two. I think we'll be 2. I think Georgia will lose to 1.
Again, we established that we don't give a shit.
Whatever. No, we don't care because
it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter.
Matters is we beat Michigan. If we beat Michigan, we'll be back at number 1. So it'll be like,
this doesn't matter. But continue. I digress.
Yeah, so it'll be Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, I think, and the winner of Ohio State Michigan will jump to 1. I think that's completely the way this is trending. So it'll be interesting because Georgia did win convincingly against Ole Miss, but what really is Ole Miss? I'm not taking anything away from Georgia. I think Georgia's good, obviously, but I just don't think Ole Miss is ever had a chance in that game. I thought that Ole Miss was going to get beaten decently handily. Yeah, I think they'll be number one though, and I won't have a problem with it.
Well, it's the moment that they lose a possession or fail to get any points out of it, they lost any chance because it was 14-14. But then Georgia kept scoring and Ole Miss kept stalling. And I mean, you've seen that before in games that look like they're going to be shootouts, and then they just fizzle out, and it ends up being a blowout. So, games that take completely different turns. Matt, do you agree that Georgia's probably going to move to number one and that we don't really care?
No, I think it's going to stay the exact same.
Okay.
But
should we? Hey, I owe you $5 from Notre Dame.
Wait, remind me again.
I said that Notre Dame would drop out of the rankings, and they stayed in the rankings, and we bet $5. I think I'm ready to place that $5 wager back if you want. I'll take Georgia at 1. You take Ohio State. Just
double or nothing. Double or nothing. Okay,
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so Brady could win us $5 back,
or I could be down 10.
Or you could be down 10. All right.
I kind of hope I'm down. I hope I win my money back. I don't want to be number 1. Give us number 2.
Yeah. Well, there you
go. I
just
think it's hard to move us out after that win. I don't know. I would be a little surprised if we're not number 1, but I don't.
I think I'm gonna not have to.
I wouldn't hate it. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
You know what the committee will do? That dude Boo Corrigan will get up there in his weird nerdy voice and be like, "No, with Georgia's win over Ole Miss at home, we just needed to see that data point and how dominant they were. That made us feel comfortable to move them into that number 1 spot."
Oh, that's how they do it, I guess. Grapevine, Texas, but that's near or there. Matt, let's play the hypothetical game real quick. All right. So again, we played this game yesterday on the show. That you weren't there, that your throat was really sore or something. Play Fortnite. I'm just kidding. That's not a big deal. But I'm just kidding, Matt. Give me a hard time. But there are 9 teams that are 1 loss or better. There's 5 undefeated teams. There's 4 teams that are 1 loss. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Louisville. So let's go hypothetically in this. The ACC championship, tell me right or wrong, all right? ACC championship matchup, Florida State, Louisville.
Yes.
Matt, this is you, all right? Yeah. Me and Brady did this already. So Florida State, Louisville, the ACC championship matchup. Pac-12 championship matchup is Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
All right. Big 12 championship matchup is Texas versus whoever.
Yes.
Okay. Then Big 10 championship matchup, Ohio State versus who's the Big 10 West leader?
Iowa.
Okay. Ohio State versus Iowa because, I think we're okay. And then SEC championship is Georgia, Alabama. So Georgia's undefeated, Bama's 1 loss. We're not, this is 3 weeks away from those games, or 2 weeks, if you will. Who would you put your money on in that game? Speaking like so far out, Georgia or Bama?
Bama.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Ohio State beats Iowa. Check. Ohio State undefeated, 13-0. Now we go down Oregon and Washington. Who wins versus Oregon and Washington? Who are you putting your money on?
Oregon.
All right. Texas versus whoever the heck is in the Big 12 in that game. Texas. Now, Louisville and Florida State. Who wins that game?
Florida State.
Florida State wins that game. So you have Ohio. So this is speaking out in advance. Stuff can change. Hypothetically speaking, Ohio State would be undefeated. Florida State would be undefeated. Texas would be 1 loss. Bama would be 1 loss. Georgia would be 1 loss. And Oregon would be 1 loss. 1 loss champion Oregon, 1 loss champion Bama. A 1 loss non-champion Washington, a 1 loss non-champion Georgia. And then a 1 loss champion Texas. That's 5 teams that all have 1 loss. 3 of them are champions, and 2 of them aren't. There's a chance, there's a world that Georgia wins out and loses in the SEC championship game, and Georgia doesn't make the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. They likely would not, for sure.
Let's say this, though. Ohio State, Big Ten champion. Florida State, ACC champion. Both of those teams are undefeated. You would rank Ohio State 1 and Florida State 2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Did he say what he? Yeah.
Okay. Alabama, SEC champion, 1 loss. Texas, Big 12 champion, 1 loss. Oregon, Pac-12 champion, 1 loss. How do you rank those 3 teams that need 2 of those spots? Matt.
Oregon 3, Texas 4.
Bama 5.
Oh, yeah. Texas beat Bama. I mean, that's crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how else you could ever.
Okay. No,
it was settled on the field.
All right. Cool. All right. Brady, do you agree on that? I would assume.
I think there's a world. Actually, I don't think there's a world. I think Texas is 4 every time. I don't think they put Texas at 3, Bama 4, and Oregon at 5. I think Oregon's in if they beat an undefeated Washington. Like, I just think they're in. They avenged their only loss. So I think it's 3 and Texas is 4 and Bama's 5. I mean, I just don't think it's.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah.
All
because
right.
we saw in 2018 when Oklahoma avenged their only loss, that was what got them in over Ohio State. The fact that we didn't get to avenge our while Texas beat Oklahoma, and that's what happened there. Even though we beat Michigan by a resounding effort at the end of the year.
True. Now, let me add this. If Louisville wins out and wins the ACC championship, does Louisville get in over Alabama?
No, absolutely
No.
Fuck.
All right. Just had to put that out there. There's a scenario where there are a lot of teams that have 1 loss.
Yeah.
A lot of teams might have 1 loss on Selection Sunday. And again, it just comes down to what they value, seeing the head-to-head matchups, because the Texas-Bama game seemed like it was forever ago, but it did happen, and Texas did end up winning. So a lot of things can happen within these next couple of weeks, and I'm just putting the hypotheticals out there and seeing which way you guys are thinking. But there you go. Got to make you guys think a little bit. You feel me? Brady, do you have anything for BK Broiling this week or no?
I do not this week.
We're saving it for next week.
We'll have next week is going to be a huge BK Broiling. It's going to be a good segment next week.
Yeah. I got 2 more picks for you.
2 more picks. Let's put these up. Matt, here we go.
I got Utah over Arizona. It's a pick 'em. It's at Utah at Arizona. I think Utah bounces back. They're a well-coached team. I know they just had a tough loss against Washington.
Yes.
I like the Utes bouncing back and a pick 'em over Arizona. And I like North Carolina +7 against Clemson. I think it's a close game. Wouldn't shock me if Carolina pulls it out. I think Clemson probably wins a close game against North Carolina, but I'll take Carolina +7.
All right. Pretty wild to think. This is, the last show before we end up in Michigan week.
Matt has never done a Michigan week show on this podcast ever.
He never has. Last
year
you were not here. You were not there last year.
Yeah, we did a show. You weren't on it. I can't remember.
I think we did it on Thanksgiving night was when we recorded the show, which is actually wild to think that we recorded on Thanksgiving night, but
we did.
It's here or there.
I wonder what happened. I wonder why we didn't do that. That's weird.
I don't know.
I can't remember, but we'll try to get.
I definitely wasn't home Thanksgiving night, so I don't know.
Nah,
we did it late. We did it
late. We did it late Thanksgiving night, but
yeah,
it was during the Patriots and the Vikings game. I remember that.
I was watching the documentary that night.
You were with Scotty, right?
I was with Scotty.
Makes sense.
But I don't know why we wouldn't have done it earlier in the week. Something must have happened.
I'm sure. Oh, I think I remember what it was. I think Monday I had a bunch of basketball stuff. Tuesday I had a game. And then Wednesday was the Turkey Bowl, and I didn't have So it was a busy week to begin with, but I'm
excited to play the Turkey Bowl this year. I didn't get to last year.
Yeah, you didn't get to last year. Yeah, got to avenge the loss and everything, but which was funny as heck. But
Matt needs to play in the Turkey Bowl sometime.
Yes, Matt, you do.
I'm too old, boys. Too
You're
old.
not too old. You're
You'd be
never
the
too
all-time
old. to do
center.
anything. Yeah, you're the greatest
yeah,
center in
I'd
Kent Ridge history. You
We
proclaim.
might play center. We might play center.
I'd probably have to jump up and catch it up here every time, go on the ground, pick it up.
Hey, fuck it.
Why could we ball? But all right. You guys got any final things before we get on out of here?
I need to use the restroom.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Caliac Manus sucks.
Later,
That's
boys.
really random. See you, Matt.
Get out, Matt.
Hey, you guys get to see what Matt does every time we end an episode. He slams the computer shut
Yep.
and he forgets that he's still on the things. Let me remove him. But with that being said, I'm Chase Johns, Brady King. That was Matt Ricketts. We'll see you guys next week with some special Ohio State, Michigan coverage.
Pump it up.
Yes.